21st of December, and we don't have information from the Department of Homeland Security on how many people illegally crossed our border in November. What's interesting about that is Jay Johnson, when he was the director, talked openly and often about how often he got a report of how many people illegally crossed the border. In fact, he said when he was the director of DHS, every single morning he got a report of how many people illegally crossed the border the day before. They knew to the day. I've been to a facility here in Washington, D.C. that they can actually track to the hour how many people have illegally crossed our border every single hour of the day, 365 days a year. But it's 21st of December, and we've requested how many people illegally crossed the border in the month of November, and they said they're still working on it. Let me just tell you why that's relevant. Because the Department of Homeland Security is in full-on chaos mode, trying to figure out how to be able to manage thousands and thousands of people illegally crossing our border, not yearly, not monthly, daily now, daily. Jay Johnson, when he was head of Homeland Security under the Obama administration, said he knew it was going to be a very bad day when 1,000 people crossed the border illegally the day before. Best guess of the last 24 hours, 9,000 people illegally crossed our border in the last 24 hours. Now, I couldn't tell you that exactly, though the Secretary does know because they keep records to the hour, but they won't let Congress know that because they don't want the American people to know what's really happening on the border right now. So they're hiding the facts. The hard part is they can't hide the facts because even the Washington Post is down on the border now, looking at what's going on the southern border and saying that's chaos. It's not an accident. It was by design. And it was by design over several policy issues. The first of which, in the first days of the Biden administration, they said we're setting aside what's called Title 42 authority. That was a temporary authority during the pandemic to say that individuals that are requesting asylum can't just automatically come into the country. We were turning them away. Now, that was designed to be a temporary authority, and everyone knew it. And so that's the reason I've asked for over a year of the Secretary, what is the plan when Title 42 authority goes away? And what I was told was, as recently as early this year, we've got a 6-point plan. In fact, not only do we have a 6-point plan, we've already started that 6-point plan. Just weeks ago, I asked the Secretary again, what's the plan when Title 42 authority goes away? Because it will go away the 21st of December. And I got the same response again. We have a 6-point plan. But their 6-point plan that they're carrying out, they've continued to see the rapid rise in the number of people illegally crossing our border every day. It used to be 1,000, and then it was 2,000, and then it was 3,000, and then it jumped to 5,000, and then it jumped to 7,000, and now it's up to 8,000 or 9,000 every day. Again, to put it in perspective, what's going on our southern border, even before the quote-unquote Title 42 authority goes away, to put this in perspective, the Obama administration, the big year of the largest surge that happened on our southern border during the Obama administration was just over 500,000 people illegally crossed that year. The best we can tell, we've had 500,000 people illegally cross our border in the last 2 months. This is full-on crisis. So what's happening with it? Of the 2 million people that have illegally crossed our border in the last year, somewhere around 700,000 of those folks were turned around under Title 42 authority. Many of them single males that were coming into the country that were turned around. So of the approximately 2 million, approximately 700,000 were turned away. This administration has asked for the courts to take away Title 42 authority and to say, we're going to ignore that. And we're just going to process everyone under what they call Title 8 authority. So let me clarify what that means. Title 8 authority is the issue of processing people in the normal structure, but what's happening right now with Title 8 authority under this administration? Well, two things. One is they've said we're putting people under expedited expedited process. Well, that sounds great, and it's a great little title in the media to say, oh, they're in expedited removal hearings. Except when you look at this administration, they've actually removed 7% of the people that they put under expedited removal. So they're basically giving them a title of expedited removal, but not actually removing them. Of the 1.3 million people that have illegally crossed our border in just the past year that were allowed to be able to come into our country under Title VIII authority, 1.3 million people have come into the country. ICE, who their budget has been cut and their purpose has been repurposed. They used to be for prosecuting individuals to be able to move out of the country. Now, ICE has been repurposed and they're actually processing paperwork of individuals in the country illegally. Used to be they were processing out, now they're processing in. So 1.3 million people have crossed our border illegally. Less than 70,000 people have actually been deported this year. That is a record low number of people that have actually been deported. The chaos continues on our southern border. And for whatever reason, this administration chooses not to care. I've asked the Secretary how many of the individuals have had criminal vetting from the country of origin, and his answer was, I'll get back to you on that. He knows the same answer that I do. The answer is 0. The American people believe there's some kind of vetting happening coming across the border. There's not. They're checked to see if they're in the terror watch list. They're checked to see if they've committed a crime in the United States, but we literally don't know the individuals crossing the border from over 150 countries so far this year. We literally don't know if they're fleeing poverty or fleeing justice. We have no idea because no one's checked. They're just ushered into the country. Now they're given expedited removal, which we know now is not actually removal, or worse yet, the vast majority of those individuals are given what's called parole. Why? Because parole is faster. They can actually process people into the country quicker if they parole them. The other thing about parole is they actually get a work permit the first day that they're in the United States. So help me understand this. Current policy of the Biden administration, they say they're trying to stop illegal immigration, but they're actually paroling people into the country as fast as they can, giving people a work permit the first day that they're actually here, and then they're setting them up for a hearing with ICE to help process in. The backlog with ICE now is 5 years long, so it's 5 years until they get that done, and then 10 years after that for the next time. So they're currently up to 15 years that they're in the country with a work permit. Why is Title 42 such a big issue? Because Title 42 is at least turning away about 40% of the folks that are at the border. Once that goes away, everyone comes in, and this accelerates even more. The best evidence that we have at this point is there are tens of thousands of people just south of the border right now waiting for Title 42 authority to go away because they've been turned away in the past, and they're rapidly coming in now. Just waiting on the courts to be able to turn this off. But currently, no one seems to care. The Biden administration has become the administration of chaos in the border. And the American people see it plainly. And I have to tell you, the American people are not opposed to legal immigration, but they do not like this chaos. And as much as the administration can say, we're just not going to tell you the numbers, or as much as this Senate has just refused to do hearings on this matter, we're still at the same spot. Tens of thousands of people are illegally crossing our border. Record high numbers, and there seems to be no deterrent on this. So I come to this floor with 2 requests. The first of that is to keep Title 42 in place. I've had a bipartisan bill that's been out there since April of this year, asking a very simple question. Maintain the Title 42 authority, give that tool to the Secretary to be able to at least turn away individuals that are illegally coming into the country, to be able to say to those individuals, you do not have a standard for asylum here, and turn those folks away. Stop the massive flow that's coming into our country on that, at least of that level. Don't make a terrible situation even worse. This bill has broad support. This is a bill that will actually help this administration to enforce the law and to decrease the chaos on our southern border. It's not a radical idea. It's a straightforward idea to say if we're interested in securing the border, this is a way to do that. So I ask unanimous consent that the Help Committee be discharged from further consideration of S4036 and the Senate proceed to its immediate consideration. I further ask that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there objection?
Mr. President,
Senator from Michigan.
I object.
Objection is heard.
Well, Mr. President, if we're going to object to maintaining the Title 42 authority, which has been widely used, then I'd ask for something else that the administration is considering. The administration has gone back and forth in consideration on what's called a transit ban for asylum. That is, for individuals that are coming to our country right now from 150 different countries, literally flying in on an aircraft, hopping in several different countries that they go to, landing in Mexico, then the cartels shuttle them to the border. They show up with luggage. If you don't believe me, there's lots of video of it, of people from all over the world that are coming. The administration has considered a transit ban to say you can't fly 4 different countries and then land here and walk in and say, I need asylum here. That's not asylum, that's economic opportunity. There's a visa process for that. The administration is considering a transit ban to say you can't go through multiple countries and then show up in the United States and say, now I want asylum. I have a bill that deals with this. Quite frankly, it's a straightforward policy. Multiple other countries around the world also have. This policy will help our administration to enforce the border and give the tools to the Border Patrol to be able to make decisions along the border that actually help protect the safety of our nation. Current process, let me remind you, is thousands of people literally being paroled into our country saying 15 years from now, we'll figure out what to do with you. That's the current process. Incentivizing illegal immigration. It doesn't slow down. This is not a matter of it's going to one day get better. We're the greatest nation on earth. There are billions of people that want to be able to come here. So this is a simple, straightforward way to be able to deal with that. And it's the transit issue, to be able to resolve that issue for asylum. So I ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the immediate consideration of S5350, which is at the desk. I further ask that the bill be considered read a third time and passed, and that the motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table.
Is there objection?
Mr. President,
Senator from Michigan.
I object.
Objection is heard.
Mr. President, this body is wearing what's happening on the border right now. And I know a lot of the national media decides they're going to look away and say it's no big deal. But I'm telling you, more and more reporters, even on the far left, are looking at what's happening at the border and saying, this is out of control humanitarian crisis. And if this body keeps ignoring that, America's going to continue to suffer. May I remind you, this is the Department of Homeland Security. What is more basic than actually securing our borders? And please don't tell me this is not possible under current law. 4 times as many people have illegally crossed on this border that happened under the Obama administration. 4 times as many. It can be done. They're just choosing not to. And that lays on this body as well. I yield the floor.